All right. Hey, Jenae, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. What about you, Garrett?
I'm doing all right. So for those of you joining us for this very first, very raw episode of Snack-ime, we're talking about uh, eating snacks and watching anime. And uh, this is an idea that Jenae and I kind of kicked up while we were chatting one day, and there's a lot of A sounds in there. Um, and we got to talking about some things that we like. Now, you're more of an anime person than I am.
Yes.
Um, why don't you tell me about your background in anime? Because I'm not much of an anime person, and you can tease me about that all you want on this particular show. Oh, hold on. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. We want that. Yeah. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
That's okay. Well, growing up, I used to watch certain movies like Unico, the unicorn,
Mhm.
and I didn't know that it was anime at the time, but when I was an adult, I was like, "Oh, this is an anime," because it was just a movie, and I would watch it over and over again. And then I would stay up late watching anime with my brother on sci-fi, like when I was like probably like 9 or 10. And so like Galaxy Express 999, Vampire Hunter D, things like that. And then of course Toonami transition to there. Dragon Ball Z, Tenchi Muyo, Sailor Moon, of course. That's one of my all-time favorites.
And these are all things that I'm familiar with, but I've never sat down to watch a whole lot. So
Mhm. Well, like my friend Tyler says that Sailor Moon is basically almost like girl Power Rangers because they have
I
the
can see
different
it.
colors and stuff like that, and then they fight the bad guys and they have the transformation. So I never thought of it that way because I also watched Power Rangers. Well, at least the first season of Power Rangers.
I
But
I'm a diehard Power Rangers fan.
yes,
So
but I just with Toonami and stuff, I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then when going to the bookstores, I found manga, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And so like one of my very first two manga series that I picked up was Sailor Moon and Ranma, which we're going to be talking about.
yes, we're
So
talking about Ranma one half today.
and so and that Ranma's the second series that I finished besides Sailor Moon, of course. And then I just started buying random manga and watching random anime with my brother growing up, and now I watch anime on Crunchyroll or Netflix, or even there's some anime I watch on Max and stuff too. So
Yeah, it's kind of
and
funny. Go ahead.
Will always jokes that most of the anime that I watch is based on food, but it's actually actually not. I need to sit down and actually write all the anime and all the manga I've watched / read just to prove him wrong that I'm not just watching romance and food anime.
Well,
So
that's pretty much how Netflix has been getting a lot of their subscribers lately.
right.
Although to be fair, I was watching Great British Baking Show last night and I fell asleep.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, I need to go back and watch last night's episode. But as far as my background with anime, like I grew up in the 80s. I'm just a few years older than you,
Mm.
and I remember very well how cartoons like Voltron, not Volt, yeah, Voltron, uh, and uh, and Transformers
I love
hit
Voltron.
they hit big here in the states.
Mm.
I mean, obviously Voltron was Go Lion, and Transformers was like Diaclone or something like that in Japan. But I got into those cartoons, and I didn't even realize it was anime until way later. Had no idea, and I was a big fan of both of those. And then, like you, I got into Power Rangers, huge Power Rangers. If the helmet wasn't a dead giveaway, and so I guess the Super Sentai type shows were something I always enjoyed. And so it's weird because like I did a year abroad in Japan after high school, and I was an exchange student, and I like at the time I couldn't stand like things like Godzilla. I couldn't stand most anime because like most of the anime that I was exposed to in high school, like it would start like it was weird. It like drop you into the middle of the story, and then you'd have to play catch up for like the entire first season before you understood what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
And that drove me nuts because like I don't mind, you know, from a writing perspective, I don't mind being in the middle of an action sequence to kind of give you a sense of what's going on. But when I have to spend like 10 episodes just to figure out how they got to that point, I'm kind of lost. And so
like Dragon Ball Z.
yes, and I've never been able to get into Dragon Ball Z. That's one of those shows. Like I get references, I never really watched it. And so like even when I was in Japan, I'm like, I don't understand these cartoons. These are dumb.
Yeah.
So but I came back to the States, and I started slowly getting into it. Like I would watch Inuyasha on Adult Swim, and then I found out that the creator of Inuyasha, Rumiko Takahashi, put out another manga series which is Ranma 1/2, and I'm like, let's check it out. And so I liked it. It's funny, it's quirky, and I don't know. It's one of those shows that kind of grew on me.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, it's like I read the manga before watching the anime, and so like I didn't watch the original anime until maybe 10 years ago. So it's been a really long time since I watched it. But like I just enjoyed the manga so much. I was like, oh, I need to watch this kind of a thing. Because like back then, anime was hard to find except for like Toonami or, as I said, like the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff like that. And it's so far and in between. And then like, or like the obscure like video stores would have it.
Yeah.
But they have like a random volume.
Well, and it hadn't really transitioned over back in the 80s and 90s as well as it has in the last 20 years. And I think that's because there's been a huge uptick in Japanese pop culture, especially.
Yeah. Well, so, I just saw on the internet that supposedly anime is more popular than sports now in America, which I found hilarious.
That's actually kind of cool. Hey, since we're talking about since our episode is entitled Ranma and Ramen, what kind of ramen are you eating today?
I am eating sriracha ramen.
How is it?
And it's not bad. It's it's a tiny bit spicy, but not too bad.
Yeah,
it kind of settled, so it's I'm trying to pick at it.
I made the noodles I did not make from scratch, but the broth is just chicken stock, soy sauce, wasabi, and some miso powder, and then I threw in this sriracha ginger citrus spice blend.
That sounds really cool.
It's really good. It's not super spicy. It's more on the salty side. But I had I had a hard boiled egg from yesterday that I just cut up and threw in here, and it made it really nice texture. So all right, so I'm gonna queue up the trailer here for Ranma. So in case for those of you watching who are not familiar with it, we're going to show you guys what it looks like. And this is now, keep in mind, this is the Netflix version. Netflix just released a brand new adaptation of Ranma. It pretty much follows the manga fairly faithfully. Newer animation, a little bit newer music, but it's pretty good. So let's pop that on here.
待たせたな。へい、よ、俺無差別格闘早乙女流2代目早乙女ランマ。はっ、天道道場の茜は親同士が決めたいい名付け。勝手に決めないでよ。男なんてラッキーよ。おめえ青いパンツ似合わねえ。いっぺん死んでこい。そしてランマにはある悩みがあって。水をかぶると女に変身しちまうんだ。俺は男だ。我が息子ながら何度見ても君を着てるつまか不思議。そっちこそ君を着てるつだろ。早乙女君待ちかねた。朝ごはんですよ。裸でうろうろされちゃ迷惑なのよ。
All right. That was frenetic. Like it feels like a little bit of a fever dream.
Have you ever seen the live action Speed Racer?
Yeah, I did. Did not care
That's
for
what
it.
that feels like for me. For fever dream release.
Right. God, that was so weird. So like if you didn't get any of that because you were too enthralled by the animation and not paying attention to the subtitles, the whole premise of Ranma 1/2 is that Ranma is a martial arts prodigy, and while training in China with his dad, they both fell into these cursed hot springs, which is like a few thousand of these springs, and each one is cursed with whatever thing died in that. And so Ranma's father turns into a giant panda because he fell into that pool. But Ranma is cursed to turn into a girl every time he's splashed with cold water. And you have various characters who keep popping up who eventually go looking for these same cursed springs, hoping that they're going to do something to mess with Ranma. And instead, they kind of mess up their own lives because they come back as like a duck or a pig or I think a hairbrush or something. I don't know.
Shampoo turns into a cat, but that will be probably in the later couple episodes. So, at least I assume.
Yeah, and you were saying that that so far there's been 6 episodes, well 7 as of the recording of today, but we haven't watched the 7th one yet. At least I haven't. And so far the 6 episodes have, for the most part, faithfully adapted the first volume of Ranma 1/2.
Yeah.
And part of volume 2.
I think yours is newer than mine.
Yeah, mine is definitely the Western version. It reads left to right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, one of the things I've noticed versus the as far as like the episode naming that's different from the original is like the original always started off with like Ranma's declaration of something.
Yeah.
This one doesn't do that. The episodes are fairly streamlined as
whatever the chapters are in the book.
Yeah, it's closer to the chapters in the books.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is cool.
I just rewatched episode 1 through 6 of the original, and it's actually like a chapter behind. They almost like lengthened it because in the 6th episode that we watched last week, I believe Kodachi appears, and Kodachi hasn't even appeared yet, and that's Kuno's sister. So
yeah.
But oh my gosh, the way that Kuno talks in the original compared to the one now, like he's not like old English, but like just like proper and old fashioned.
Yeah, he's very formal.
Yeah, and I forgot about that until rewatching it, which it kind of made me laugh because I was like, oh, but I almost think I recognize the guy. I forgot to look up the actor's name, but I recognize the guy that does the voice of Akane's dad, and like he's done a lot of anime voice acting, and like he's done a few high school voices. I almost think that they should have switched Kuno's voice with his voice for the newer one on Netflix.
I think that's kind of I think that makes for a nice little basis though, because like you don't anticipate how it plays out. Because the voices feel a little mismatched. Because like the way that Kuno talks to everybody is like he talks like he's like 65. Super formal. Like everything is like is very very poetic prose in the way his dialogue. And I'm like, nobody talks like that. Yeah. Like even Ranma and some of the other characters like what the heck are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense.
And Kadachi kind of talks like that too. Not as bad, but still like my lord and stuff like that.
Yeah, very formal, very romanticized language, and it's just like, what is wrong with this family? So far in the 6 episodes of the new Netflix series, who is your favorite character?
Well, my daughter actually just asked me that last night because she's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "I'm rewatching Ranma, one half." And she's like, "Well, who's your favorite character?" I'm like, "It's Ranma. It's always Ranma because it's just the comedic timing and like how dense he is sometimes with certain things." And so, like when he turns into a girl and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a girl now." Whoops! It's like, how do you not know?
He completely forgets that he's got boobs.
Yeah.
And he's just walking around shirtless. Like, he doesn't even think about it. It's like, how do you I'm like, you don't notice there's something there?
I do find it hilarious though that, okay, so in the manga and in the original anime, it's not like detailed, but they do draw the nipples. But in the new one, there's not. I get it. I understand. But I just think it's funny that it's just a blank chest.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
Yeah, it is. It's a little funny. But like, I mean, yeah, well, and part of that is because it's an American studio for the most part producing it. And so like they have certain things that they can't, like if it's already been pre-produced and they're just porting it over from Japan, that's one thing. When it's something that's made by an American company, like America's like, no. If it's a cartoon, you're not going to be showing anything like that unless it's listed for adult and animation, like something like Legend of Vox Machina or something else like that, where you see things that are a little bit more graphic. I don't know, like I get why, like I can see why Ramen would be a favorite character, just because like he is dense, he can be dumb, but he also has a really like he's got an honorable side to him, but at the same time it's like, I don't know, some of the characters are really unlikable. Like first of all, like let's just talk about the problematic issue with the parents, like arranging a marriage between their teenage kids who have never met and are probably going to hate each other.
Yeah.
That already is a red flag for me. But like Akane is very unlikable as a character. Like I get that she's the youngest, she tries to be independent, she tries to be this badass warrior, and she is definitely a badass fighter. But she's not a likable character. Like she treats like she knew, like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know why Genma Saotome doesn't tell everybody ahead of time, hey, just so you're aware, this is the situation that's going on. Like, doesn't prepare anything. He's just like, let's show up.
Let's just go back from China. Yay! The only thing I can think of which I don't think would make any sense is if he sent that before it had happened, but I don't think he would have done that because I don't know how long they were actually going to train over in China.
Yeah.
But during the scenes in China, like listening carefully, I was like, hey, this music feels like they just clipped it from Inuyasha, but of course it's the same the creator, so they should have used the same musical arrangements and stuff. But I just thought it was kind of cool, like that little tidbit in there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like just watching it, like I forgot just how much time Ranma's dad spends as a panda, and I'm like, does this guy like not bathe? Like, does he not ever shower or take a bath or anything? Like he's constantly on hand with a bucket of water to splash Ranma in case he needs, whether it's hot water or cold water, it doesn't matter. He's ready to do what he needs to do. But he himself, it's like he's super comfortable in his panda form. And I don't know why the Chinese government isn't like invading Tokyo to be like, hey, you've got one of our pandas. We need to bring that back.
Well, I made a note. I'm just like, where do they randomly find this hot water? Right. These big yellow kettles of hot water. Like I see, like in one of the episodes, they actually asked the nice old lady for hot water, but like otherwise, it's like, where are you finding these? Does the school just supply like just random kettles that you can fill and then heat up the water?
Or I think it's like the equivalent of all the Acme and TNT products that Wile E. Coyote picks up in Looney Tunes. Like he just has a surplus store somewhere in the middle of the desert. He's probably raiding Area 51, given where they are. But yeah, I don't know. For me, like one of my favorite characters, just because he's such a moron, is Ryoga.
Yes.
Like this guy has like the worst sense of direction ever, and like his entire problem with Ranma is Ranma stole snacks from him because he wasn't fast enough to catch the snacks. And then when he finally chased Ranma down in China, he got knocked into one of those cursed pools.
Yeah.
And even in which explains why he uses the umbrella all the time. Like I think that's brilliant character design for a character like this. Like he knows how to avoid the curse. It's problematic though because this guy is so dumb. He has no concept of direction. It's like, dude, we're in the 20th, 21st century now. Get a smartphone.
Yeah. But see, I think it's still set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like with like they decided the new title sequence music, which I thought was awesome because it just had that little hint of like 80s kind of music that was back for 80s anime. I thought that was cool. But I was wondering like if I was worried that they might modernize it, but I was glad that they kept it like the era that it was supposed to be, because I would wonder how they would do with smartphones and stuff like that.
Right, and because like if like can you just imagine like being at school, Ranma and Akane are in one of their many combat situations in the middle of the school day, which I'm like, how does that school stay open? How do the teachers still have jobs? With as much fighting and violence as there is taking place there. Like I went to school in Japan. Like at no point did people just randomly show up from another school to pick a fight with a student, let alone like all the guys bum rushing some girl trying to win her affection by beating her up. Like that never happens. So
I want to know, like the whole punishment, you need to hold the water pails, one in each hand kind of a thing, or just one water pail. It's just like, so do you have to find the pail, fill it up, and then just stand in front of your classroom? Or is there already a water pail just in case someone is late?
I never saw any water pails. And keep in mind, this is like 24 years ago that I was there. I don't remember seeing any water pails outside the classrooms or inside the classrooms. It was probably in a janitor's closet somewhere. I don't know. But even then, they don't pay for janitors, so because all the kids clean their own school. So yeah, it's I don't know.
That's referenced in other animes too, not just Ranma, and other manga and stuff like that. So I find that fascinating. It's like, where does these water pails come from? It's like,
yeah. I will say this though, one of the things I've always appreciated about anime is the attention to detail.
Yes.
In everything from like the way that clothing and characters are posed to the textures of backgrounds and stuff like that. Like it's like it is really beautifully well done. And like I'm looking at some of the detail work here on the it's one of the episodes. I've got my Netflix app loaded up here on my phone, and I'm looking at it, and just looking at the background, like there's a wooden door and a wall, and just like seeing the fact that someone put in grain on the wood instead of just painting it like a light brown. They took the time to put grain lines in there. That is just so cool.
Yeah, with rewatching the old one too, it was so like even for the 80s, they just had so much detail.
Oh yeah,
I find that amazing. It's like in most anime has a lot of detail, and I really appreciate that. Like food always looks amazing,
right?
And like even like watching Studio Ghibli movies, like when they're putting on their shoes, it's like they pull it on and they put it all the way on and then tap with their toe. Like most like American style cartoons, they just slip on their shoes and then they go. They don't take that attention to detail, like, oh, well, this is how a kid would actually put their shoes on. They're gonna struggle a little bit, they're gonna tug, and then they're gonna tap on their shoe to make sure it fits, kind of a thing. So I always enjoy and really appreciate the attention to detail that they have. I think that's another reason why I'm like so drawn to anime. It's like the art style is just so beautiful, and the colors that they use is amazing. So
I remember watching back when I was in high school. I rented Street Fighter, the movie, not the live action with the Jean-Claude Van Damme, but like the actual anime that was actually true to the games and stuff like that. And I remember there was a scene that just was so vivid to me. It was the scene where Guile is getting into his Ford Mustang GT, and like the detail, like it wasn't just like a generic sports car. This, like, they went into the detail of drawing a Mustang GT with a New York license plate.
Oh, wow.
And the New York license plate is a very iconic looking license plate because the yellow and the black and the in the center image of the Statue of Liberty right there in the middle of the plate. Like, obviously the script for the Ford logo was a little blurred out because they couldn't have the logo because that's a trademark. But like the fact that they went into that kind of detail, that even without the name brand on the vehicle, you could tell what vehicle it was, and that's just phenomenal. The attention to detail. So how many episodes are supposed to be in the season? I
believe it said 12. When last time I looked.
Let me take a look.
Sometimes they do 13.
I'm on Netflix, and they're only saying it's supposed to be 8 episodes.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it could just be because the 8th one is loaded up and ready to load for next week.
Yeah, because most anime, depending on the anime and the streaming services, it's like 12 or 13 is a season. So
so they are doing 12 episodes. They are doing 12 episodes. And the last one will be on December 21st.
Oh.
So just before Christmas. That'll be cool.
Get a Christmas hat on.
Right? So far in the 6 episodes that we've seen, what has been your favorite plot point? And we'll wrap up with this question.
Oh, my favorite plot point. I always found it hilarious, plot point wise, that like Kuno and his sister like just don't understand or like fathom that Ranma and the pigtailed girl are the same. They're like just super oblivious, even like when they technically almost transform in front of them,
right?
Like it's like, where'd they go? How dare you take them away? It's like they were there the whole time. Why are you not noticing? Everyone around you knows what's happening and going on except for you.
Well, even then, some of the other students are like that first episode when he and Kuno are fighting and they go into the pool and they're like, hey, where'd he go? Where'd that girl come from? Like, even the students are a little oblivious, but like it's once the entertainment value is gone for them, they just kind of disperse. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of lack of self-awareness in these characters.
But yeah, that's like, I think my favorite is, and then also Ryoga's sense of no direction whatsoever. Right. Even with a map, he has no sense of direction.
No.
It's like, I don't know how many street signs are like around and stuff, because he always seems to come into like an obscure area and asking a person in the field or something, hey, where's this? And they're like, well, you're in this part of Japan. You're in the wrong part.
Right. I think one of my favorite plot points, and this I think it has to do with more with making the characters likable, is the scenes where you have this alone time between Ranma and Akane, and they get to kind of see each other outside of school, outside of the dojo, outside of home, and they get to see each other being people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funky, like it like on the one hand, like it makes me wonder how often does Ranma give into the curse and just like splash himself with water and just to go walking around so he's being left alone.
Yeah.
But like it all, like how much does he take advantage of that? Because there's a comment in one of the most recent episodes where he's like where he's walking around with a bag of food saying, hey, it's really nice to get free stuff because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, how often do you take advantage of that?
Right. Well, we know Nabiki takes a lot of advantage of that.
Right? She's
selling all the pictures.
She's capitalizing. Like,
well, at least though, like they kind of skipped, like, because in the original, like Rama was worried that he was wetting the bed or something because like she was actually physically pouring water onto him, turning him into a girl, taking pictures, and then pouring the water back on to turn him into a boy. And then there was a big wet spot, and he's like, "I didn't, did I?" But in the Netflix one, they completely glazed over that, which I just thought was funny because I don't know. I'd have to relook, but I don't even think that attention to detail for Nabiki taking the pictures and stuff was in the manga, but I just think it's funny that there was that little tidbit. Just
right. And like, I don't know, like, yeah, that opens up a whole other can of worms for Nabiki, because she's one of those characters that will capitalize on just about anything.
Oh my gosh! If it was nowadays, she'd probably make an OnlyFans for Ranma.
Seriously, God. I would love to see Ranma, like an actual Ranma set in 2024, because like just the socio-political commentary on how ridiculous certain things are would be funny, because the Japanese, like, they know how to do satire really well. So yeah, awesome. Well, hey, we're gonna wrap up.
All right.
So for those of you, this has been Snack-ime with Garrett and Jenae. Our episode today was Ranma and Ramen, part 1. Part 2 will be coming up in a few weeks after the first season of Ranma wraps up. So this isn't going to be like a weekly show. We're going to do this like once every few weeks or so. So yeah, we wanted to jump this off the ground. So go, Jenae, go ahead and tell the folks where they can connect with you at.
You can connect with me on my Instagram for my art at JELIXNB. And then I'm also on the Geek Gauntlet podcast. We talk about geek news on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And
So you've got an episode tonight.
Yeah. So you'll see me in my Ranma forum tonight too.
Awesome. Very cool. As for me, you guys can connect with me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books. I'm an author. My book series is called The Archives of Hissink Ran. It's a 5-book fantasy series. I'm in the process of very slowly working through book 6 and getting that in development. I'm also working on the audiobook for book 1. You can also find me on YouTube. I do a show called The Right Way, where we talk book recs, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I just had an episode come out last Saturday, and I've got another one coming out on December 7th, so in just about 3 weeks, give or take. And you guys can connect with me on there as well. And then, of course, we are part of Feast of Fandoms. Both this show, War of the Stars, was a show I'm also on, and then the Geek Gauntlet. We're on Feast of Fandoms. You can find us on YouTube. Just search up Feast of Fandoms. Anything else you want to pitch, Jenae?
Pick up a book, read it. Whether it's manga or something that Garrett wrote.
I could definitely use the sales. Otherwise, I'll have to resort to, you know, splashing myself with cold water from China and starting OnlyFans. That'll really win them over. Alrighty, guys.
Biki to help monetize it.
Right?